big one to me that at least this champion is more of a flex pick than something like the Viego, which I feel like we do typically just tend to see go more towards that mid lane.
Yeah, and I think the Lee Sin is a pretty safe pick right now. It just provides a lot of that flexibility. You can move it around, but as well as just a lot of the upside of having a Lee Sin in the game, having the setup, having the damage, and everything that comes along with it. Viego is the almost instant lock-in for FPX as well, so very high prominence on this pick today. Hasn't had the best showing, at least in the first series, but this is a different beast. This is FPX whipping out the Viego.
Yeah, and you know, now typically you go two ways. Either the Diana would come out, but I wouldn't be surprised if FPX do just lock in the Varus, and they do, for the fact that we set up, hey, for RA, they've had pretty small champion pools, and they've consistently just gone towards these things that are self-sufficient in lane. So you've already taken away the Kalista. Sure, the Kai'Sa's still open, but that's something that I feel like has really struggled in the current meta, and it doesn't even do well against the Varus. So take away the Varus, make it hard for their bottom lane to do well, because their bottom lane is probably the one area that really does just outdo your roster on the Rift, especially when you don't have a ton of experience coming in with the fact that you're bringing in a sub that you don't have that much practice time with. So good takeaway. RA straight away gonna pick up the LeBlanc. In my mind, this is FoFo's most notable champion in his career. Back when he started out in season 6, 2016 in the LMS.
Season
LeBlanc
16
was his big, season 16.
Oh my
Thank you,
God,
Mazel.
we're going to the future.
Then we're going to have the Camille coming out as well. So already setting up a really strong pick comp for the side of RA. Already having a bit of a 1-3-1 that you can always default back into. And still getting these champions that provide a lot of playmaking and agency.
I know you just made a lot of really great analytical points. I'm just gonna say that I gotta get me one of those posters with Doinb making those ears and the hat on. I have to get one of those. Anyways, we're back to it, because Rare Adam, as you were kind of talking about, getting a lot of the forward momentum with the Camille backing up the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin lock in. The Renekton sneaks on through and is the final pick in the first phase for FPX.
Yeah, I just realized that this got so far through draft, and you know, this has been a pick that we've seen more and more teams ignore. Before it had 100% presence, now we're only at about 80%, still incredibly high, but these are two teams you would think would gravitate towards it more than anyone else. For FPX, you know, Doinb being a massive Renekton player, Nuguri as well, so being one of the best teams to look for that flex pick. And for Rare Adam, it is Cube's most played. FoFo's played it as well. I feel like it's just typically been one of Cube's more prominent champions. But making it all the way this far in draft, we're going to see coming out on FPX. FPX now, I think, really looking for an AP jungler. We still haven't seen the Diana band out, so that's something I would like to see RA take away on the last pick. But even then, sure, Rumble's nerfed, but it's still open. It's still Tian's most played champion, and something that he can pull out easily.
And we got to see some performance, at least some decent performance out of Shadow earlier in the first series on that pick as well. Just got to pick the right fights, got to pick the corridors that work out well, as FPX banning away those supports, those engagers, those CC'ers, and the Leona and the Alistair taken away. Rare Adam on the other side did ban away the Silas for a lot of that versatility that maybe FPX is looking for. And as this last ban, it is going to be the Diana.
Yeah, overall makes sense. So they are taking away the expected pick. The Nidalee also being something that is available. Never really something that Tian has been known for, only playing it a couple of times in his career. So for FPX, I feel like the jungler that makes the most sense would be something like the Rumble, but instead going to bring out the Galio. So actually what they're going to do is just put the Viego in the jungle. It has been something Tian has played. It's not something we really talked about or even considered at all, just for, I think, the fact of how good Doinb's performance has been on the Viegos is kind of why I gravitated towards them just putting him on it outright. But Tian going to be on the Viego. He actually did play it in their last series up against LGD. I believe it was in game 1 where they had the Orianna in mid lane. You have your mid laner now to facilitate that in the Galio. And now we're just going to be looking at what support pick Shenyl wants to go for last. As for RA, we get the Nautilus coming out. I feel like you just want something that can safely catch waves in mid with all these AD carry bans. There aren't too many options left on the table. Aphelios being incredibly strong on this patch ever since the buffs did come through, and that is what iBoy is going to decide on.
And a good amount of range to go with the rest of the composition that's unfortunately going to leave Aphelios hanging a little bit. I feel like when you're got so many buttons to go forward, but you know, you have a decent amount of range to back it up as well. So that team fight's going to look really interesting. A lot of execution needed on the side of Rare Atom with what they've been able to pick up for themselves. But Rakan is the final lock-in for FPX as they get a little bit of engage and a little bit of support as their final one.
And I actually like FPX's composition. I feel like it's easy to look at and think, you know, maybe there isn't too much damage on it as it goes later. There's really not too much AP, but at the same time, our ace comp doesn't really have a tank, so I don't think that's a massive deal either. And the thing I like about it is you have a lot of champions who are going to be coming into close range. You have a lot of champions where that Galio taunt's going to do a lot of work, where the Rakan W is going to knock multiple people up. You're going to set up for a very easy to quickness, and it should just give room for both Tian and Lwx to do massive work, to where even the Dominus on the Renekton feels like you're just going to get a lot of value. For RA, I feel like you're going to be relying a lot on iBoy and FoFo to play near perfect on these picks to be able to find the advantages and especially come out ahead in team fights, right? You have the range on your Aphelios, so you can really ignore a lot of the engage coming out for the side of FPX, but especially FoFo on this LeBlanc is going to have to do a good job of abusing lack of vision, finding flanks, being able to get on top of the key carry like the Varus and taking him out of the fight early on, or even just not even killing him, right? Just chunking him low enough to where he doesn't feel safe to walk forward and output damage.
And I think it's really interesting because we set up this mid lane matchup, right? The gun show that is this crazy matchup between FoFo and Doinb. But the fact of the matter is we have a LeBlanc on one side where you're looking at a lot of execution. You want to get out on the map, you want to get involved early on, you want to snowball very heavily, and on the other side you have a Galio looking more so to play with the team, get to that level 6 mark, heroic entrance, get involved in the team macro decisions. A very interesting setup from both these teams as we do hit the rift for the first time of this second series. It's been a heck of a night, and we're gonna keep rolling on through. Rare Atom versus FPX. Game number 1 starts now. Still got to get me some of those signs, Lyric, because we do get to see a little bit of the crowd move on through. A little bit of a change up of scenery, but still the bright and smiling faces that we all love to see. As we do get the early game with no shenanigans, and the League of Conquer is down a little bit here today, Lyric.
Yeah, I mean, which is the fact that we have things like the Galio and LeBlanc coming out. Of course, not going to see as much of it, and I love that we're already kind of looking at the mid lane matchup, because this matchup, despite the fact that Galio does kind of nullify LeBlanc in a sense, right? She jumps in, you're able to taunt her, hit her with your passive, and throw out the Winds of War as well, and kind of back up from the trade. I still feel like this is a decently LeBlanc favored matchup in the laning phase. You look for the all-in, sure you're taunted, but you're able to throw out that Ethereal Chain, you're able to proc your Aftershock, and then just abuse your range advantage coming in, and hopefully we're going to see FoFo be able to force Doinb out of lane early on and really make the most of this matchup, and then start roaming around to influence the map before Galio has a heroic entrance to be able to help out his team.
That's how the game plan is supposed to work out, at least for FoFo. Just trying to get some influence there, maybe by Leyan, and just trying to find those synergies along those lines. But that's where I find it a little interesting here when we're looking further into the game, when you're looking at those team fights, when we're looking at things that we set up for both these teams, right? Rare Atom trying to take the more calculated approach, the incremental gains, getting to the later parts of the game and finding those executions that way. And FPX a little bit more of the just find wins where you can. If you've got to win, snowball it forward. But this time around, different and more calculated approaches, at least for FPX. And on the other side, execution heavy focus from Rare Atom. As Nuguri actually taking the better end of a trade against Cube in the top lane. Slice and Dice going to get Cube very low, but nice response from Cube as well. We get the jungle attention. Tian finds Leyan, but not going to get the kill. He will look. I thought he was maybe going to go for the Scuttle Crab. Actually decides not to. Will eventually
look at FoFo on the mini map.
Yeah, it's close.
FoFo making his way over.
This is what we wanted to see from FoFo, is helping his jungler get attention and find pressure on the map. But now the rest of FPX are responding, except Doinb is going to complete that one, get the TP back in, and Tian is the one that picks up the Scuttle Crab in the end. Bot lane, a little bit of an engage there from Shenyl, but if he stays, he might die, as iBoy getting very low to be able to pick up that first blood. Not gonna find it just yet, but Summoner's burn.
Yeah, and overall, this trade's actually going to mean a lot, right? Because we have Doinb TPing into mid, which is supposed to be able to help give them prio to take this crab. He's coming back on the map with the resource advantage, with a bit of an item advantage in that Dark Seal. But your bottom lane having to blow summoners, giving over pressure to iBoy and Hung, meaning they're able to follow first, evens out to Leyan getting that Scuttle Crab. Was nice to see FoFo and Leyan linking up. We hit on how this is one of the areas where the team has really improved since Spring Split. They do link up more still. I feel like Leyan being a bit greedy in terms of that first clear of FoFo doing his best to prevent that Scuttle from coming out. Leyan just be like, no, I need to finish my drop first. We can do it. Goes for it. Sadly, Tian able to smite that one away. I don't think that one was a big deal, and it's nice that RA were able to translate their bot pressure into securing that Scuttle Crab for him, so you're pretty much even across the board. And hitting on RA's bottom lane specifically, right? Very strong laning duo. Maybe not overall, I think, in terms of like maybe team fights in mid game where they really shine, but I definitely think Hung and iBoy have been one of the better and especially more lane dominant bot lanes in the LPL.
And I think going up against, you know, Lwx with a newly implemented Shenyl, that's one of the moments that you can really shine as this duo here, where we've seen that growth from iBoy and from Hung on this duo, and I want to see that kind of shine through in this game specifically, because I do feel like they're set up for success. We've already seen the aggression early on. We've also wanted to see a little bit more of that synergy develop, and I feel like once iBoy and Hung are able to get into those fights with the rest of the composition, with the setup that Leyan is going to be able to have for them, that's where this kind of duo is really finding their stride.
And something we can keep around as well is if Leyan is just going to keep looking for opportunities around top, because right now he's about to do his gromp, potentially set up for a gank on top side, but with the vision that has come down, I don't really think he will be able to find anything, or if he'll go to typical Leyan style of just defaulting around where your strong lanes are, play more around bot, help them get push around that 730 mark and try to translate that into an 8-minute Herald. Despite the fact Dominus comes out from Nuguri, looks like we're getting some fighting, Mazel.
Oh, we are. Tian takes a nice little fight on Leyan, but Leyan able to get out with a nice little dodge to the ward. And we had the Dominus, we had the fireworks, but just a little bit lackluster in the execution there. Not going to get the first blood that we could hope for. And we're already circled at that 7-minute mark. You know, both these teams hungry for it. Bot lane might be the first sight of it, as Shenyl has to get out. Does have the ignite burned onto him by Hong, but still nothing else comes of it. Level 6 acquired by Doinb. They also have the TPs coming in. Nuguri is here. The heroic entrance comes in. Hong is already down. And first blood to FPX.
Yeah, so gonna make that proactive play. We saw ping coming out on the ward to look for the engage. They didn't go into iBoy because iBoy had the cleanse up, so they knew if any stun come out, he can just instantly look for the flash. Isn't gonna get knocked up by the knockup from Galio either. So they go for the confirmed kill. This is going to give a bit of leeway to the Camille, as we see Leyan just sneaking in here. Lwx does have flash though.
Oh, Dragon Rage kick available. Lwx gets under tower. No, he is taken out. Oh no, the return kill. Lwx, and unfortunate for Leyan.
Yeah, I mean, the Chains of Corruption came out at the last second, right? Didn't even really see the animation coming out from that one, but getting locked down under turret, guaranteeing that kill. And it goes back to the point that Lwx having flash, he even still had heal as well, didn't have to use that one, able to find a kill in response, as both supports going to be on the top side of the map. Herald did just come up. It's going to be about trying to help your mid laner get mid prio, turn it to river first, but look at the state of the map right now. You have Doinb pushing in mid, Nuguri has pushing topside. They're going to be able to take control of river, and I don't think RA should be in a position where they can answer. Lwx doesn't have flash, and both Doinb and Lwx don't have ultimate, so if RA decided to go for it, that could have been, you know, the way you look to punish, but RA keeping it stock and standard, not wanting to go for the risk.
Yeah, the exactly how we set it up for them, right? They didn't want to go for those crazy plays anymore. Chaos is not their name anymore. All right, Lyric, gosh. But no, Rare Adam just finding those little bits where, yes, maybe they can give up some things in the early game just to ensure that late game potential that they do have.
Yeah, definitely. RA not being the Professor Chaos of the, you know, LPL South Park crossover universe, but
This is the universe I want to live in, just say it.
Dude, I'm just saying, Professor Chaos in general, Disarray, the coolest characters in the show. But you know, I don't feel like this is the time or the game for that tangent. You know, we can save that for like RW versus TT or something like that. But
wow, why do you gotta
right now,
do them like that, man? Why you gotta do them like that? All right.
They're already dead. They're already dead. But no. Point is, you know, Leyan gonna pick up this early dragon. We do have Rift Herald on Tian though, and I feel like a big question is where they're gonna end up opting into using that one. You've already taken one plate in the top side of the map, and I feel like Nuguri's already made his way onto the second one as well, so that could be an option, opening up a side lane, preventing the Camille from getting even further ahead to where you see your bottom lanes getting heavily pushed in, your mid lanes getting heavily pushed in. Sure, Tian can look for an opportunity to make this play on bot. Doinb's about to have TP up as well. And if you can find kills, you can look for that Herald play, but I feel like that is dependent on the bottom lane of RA making an overstep.
Yeah, and this is where I wonder if that's going to be sniffed out, right? Tian just going for the clear right now, but there is that possibility. I do also want to highlight that Leyan is down here on the bot side as well, so there is that response available with the Lee Sin and the mobility that you get with that pick, but it looks like we're going to get a little bit different moments right now from either jungler, as the reset did come out from Leyan, but Tian is just going to continue to farm up through here, maybe look for something after clearing his blue side.
Yeah, maybe look for something after that, but Tian's actually going to be the one who has tempo towards the top side of the map, and we hit on how, right, I think the most logical conclusion of where you're looking to drop that Rift Herald is probably the top side of the map. RA, though, have like pretty good defensive vision down in their top side jungle, right? They have two control wards. Leyan making his way here now, so RA know that for them, their plan is just try and spot out where Tian is on the map and prevent his plays from coming through. You don't even have to necessarily like answer kill for kill. If you can just show up where he's going to be when he's going to be there, just stop a Rift Herald or stop a gank. You don't necessarily need to turn into a kill yourself. You have the Aphelios that you're banking on. You have the Camille that you're banking on to step up for you later on. And to where earlier in the day we saw LGD not able to do this effectively, it feels like RA are a team where this is in their DNA.
Yeah, this is where they feel the most comfortable at. This is where the moments actually feel like they are in their side of the court. I will say it's a very different pace, though, from series to series here, Lyra, because we were getting just so much fighting. It was action every 30 seconds or less in the first series of the day, but this one is calm, cool, and collected to a T here at 12 minutes in. We have not gotten that much blood, just 2-1 in favor of FPX. A slight advantage for Rare Item just across the board because of some CS differentials, but nothing really crazy, nothing to write home about so far. But it's one of those games where you feel like things can kick up at any moment, and that snowball will be real.
And I think this is going to open the question of actually going to stop just because we have Rift Herald coming out in the mid lane. Not going to really be able to do any massive amount of damage, just going to get some gold onto Doinb, but Hung missing a hook. I'm going to stop with the point I was going to make right now, Mazel, because we have both teams posturing like they want to fight. I think for FPX, we know they always want to fight, but
I was going to say,
Chains of Corruption.
When does that ever stop?
Nothing. Yep. Definitely not anytime soon. Chains of Corruption came out, not able to find the pick, but, you know, thinking about it, the biggest question mark to me is, sure, we've seen FPX play games like this. Dredgeline, though, he's a Rakan, so I don't think too much should be able to happen.
Moonlight Vigil used on top of it as well. You see the CC chain, the potential there for Rare Adam, but Shuni just able to get out with nice little moves. And as a Rakan, feels good.
Yeah, very hard to lock him down with those all-in champions and really find the time to burst him out before he's able to get away. But we've seen FPX have some slower early games like this where they're not really able to find too much to get ahead. But typically, Doinb is on something that can just take over a game, right? This time around, Doinb on the Galio isn't on something where if RA are able to get into a point of power, that I just don't know which member of FPX I look at and really have the confidence in to be able to get the game back in their favor.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, you're putting a lot of eggs into the full team composition basket, the heroic entrance, to kind of turn the tide of a fight. But talking about turning tides of fights, we got FPX looking for a fight on bot lane. Not going to have the backup of Lwx just yet. It's still just a 2v2 down here until the late wave is pushed up. The rest of RA are not going to be coming down here to support just yet. You're now seeing Leyan coming down this way. You already do have 3 members strong of FPX down here.
Yeah, and right now they're doing a good job of controlling vision through the bottom half of the map. Even though we've seen them lose out in 2v2 trades, right? We've seen them in the past 2 exchanges actually have push in bot lane. So they're trying to get Prio to walk into river through where they're strong. They're going to get vision control through that bottom half because they know they can't realistically win out through the mid jungle 2v2 right now. So Leyan going to try to get pressure through there. Flashes in.
Doinb's dead. Leyan gets the kill. Hung in some trouble bot lane. iBoy trying to turn a miracle, but can't make it out of the dust. Hung goes down, and that's a big trade on opposite sides pretty much here. And we're still going to keep the action going as Leyan is trying to steal away the red buff from Nuguri.
That's the thing, right, is we saw both teams turn to where they were strong. I think RA initially had a really good response to what FPX are doing, to where it's like, okay, Tian coming through bottom side, securing vision through there, but RA looked like they wanted to set up a dive for top side, but Nuguri with the Dominus ain't going to be anywhere close to going down, and team just going to continuously opt into trades for objectives. Tian picking up the Dragon, but Leyan wanting to do the Herald. You have a lot of FPX coming towards the top side of the map, though, so I just have a gut feeling that FPX are going to contest.
I feel it too. Rift Herald about 3,000, now about 1,500. Just going to go down here to Leyan as Tian and Doinb are here. See if they opt into the fight. The taunt comes down. Leyan is going to go down as Nuguri goes over the wall, gets the kill. Heroic entrance to back it up as well, and they're going to find a second. Doinb gets the one himself. And the love has been shared across the board pretty much for FPX.
And that was just a nice counterplay coming out from FPX. RA trying to cheat tempo a little bit, right? They have Leyan soloing the Herald while Cube and FoFo are getting off good resets instead of helping him. So trying to do 2 things at once in a way of like, hey, keeping tempo in your lanes and being able to move on to the next play while you just have one guy slowly doing whatever objective you want to take. FPX are able to punish that. Do have a slight gold lead now, but I still don't think it amounts in all too much for their side. I feel like the biggest thing is that you have Nuguri getting pretty strong, able to pick up the Executioner's culling at this point. And for FPX, I'd like to see them start hovering towards that top side quite soon. Just help Nuguri break down that top turret. You don't need to gank. You don't need to necessarily do anything. Show on top wave, and he's going to have to back off the wave. Nuguri gets to take that. You can start roaming him around the map as in the replay. I mean, there's not too much to see here, right? Leyan was overextended. Nuguri finds his way in over the wall with that slicing dice, picks up one. The Ruthless Predator comes out. They're able to secure the second one, and it's just the punishment off the tempo that we just talked about.
Yeah, and just how it went down there and how FPX have found that lead. Well, bot lane still going a little bit more in favor of Lwx here on the Varus. We might see Tian. I thought he might actually opt into that fight. Is a bit of an unknown fight there as you don't have too much vision in the enemy blue side, or at least red side down there. Doinb maybe in some trouble at mid lane as this tower is going to be going down to the Rift Herald spawned up by Leyan and the rest of RA, as they will trade it for a bot lane tower, though, as it will be first tower rather going over to FPX, but quickly responded to by RA.
Yeah, so RA at least going to have one turret back. I feel like the good thing for FPX is they still have the ability to break down topside turret very easily, and then you can make a play where you have Nuguri in the side lane, you have bot lane mid or Doinb mid, and like you can look to do the push in both sides, collapse on mid play for the last turret for FPX, to where RA don't really have any easy answer to picking up either of the side lane turrets that are still left open. But I feel like for RA, the silver lining to that is you don't necessarily have to be thinking of how to break down their outer turrets all too much. You just more have to think about, how do I stop FPX from making that next play on the top side of the map?
FoFo going for some trading against Tian there in the jungle, in the river there. But the rest of FPX quickly respond to the aggression put forth by Rare Adam. Cube might be in some trouble top lane as he gets away as his tower dies, and FPX are storming into RA's blue side of the jungle as a 5-man squad. There's not much that RA can do about it. Resets will come back out.
Nope, with how low the turret was for RA, it feels like even if you dedicated 5-man topside right, Nuguri could have just walked up and even tanked 1 or 2 turret shots. You're able to take that one, so the rest of your team's able to walk into your topside jungle. They're going to walk out from that one. Now for FPX, it's about just kind of pushing in both sides, keeping those grooving forward and then moving towards the mid lane. This is already down to half HP, so if you're able to force both Cube and FoFo to show on a side wave, you should be able to guarantee that mid turret, and then you have a nice set of gold, and you have both quadrants of the jungle open. But Dragon's going to be up in 40 seconds, so before looking to make that play on mid, both teams probably going to start making their way over towards that objective, but both top laners have TP. Can be there in an instant, Mazel.
I sure do love my TP plays. And, you know, first to take a leg up in this Dragon Soul hunt for that Ocean Dragon Soul will be a nice one, as we are going to get a pause. I'm sure we'll get an update on what's going on here very, very shortly. But it gives me perfect time because I wanted to do a check-in. All right, Lyric, I think you're ready for a check-in here as we're looking at this game in totality. We talked a lot about how the setup comes for both of these teams, the way that both these teams really like to play. And I want to look back into this mid lane showdown, this matchup that we said was so integral to both of these teams, the sink or swim matchup. And so far it's been a little bit lackluster with the fireworks, I gotta say, but still some very strong pieces to the puzzle and just waiting to come online in different ways.
Yeah, that's been the weird thing, right? Is that, like, for FPX, they pretty much said, hey, we're not going to make mid lane our focal point in the traditional sense. Mid lane's going to be our focal point in terms of, like, trying to shut down some of the heavy divers you have in your team comp, like the LeBlanc and the Camille, or influencing the map early, but not necessarily the same kind of carry we wanted to see out from Doinb. And then FoFo, like, I think FoFo did a decent job of trying to enable Leyan, or at least keep Leyan safe and help him do what he needs to do, but not a ton of action able to happen in the side lanes just yet. It definitely feels like this is going to come to a boiling point probably by that 3rd Dragon point for both these teams.
And just because I feel like the Dragon, and I already alluded to it a little bit, is just so important for the compositions themselves for both these teams, but as well as just the fact that the Ocean Soul gives you so much siege potential, gives you so much sustain around the objectives when you're setting up for moments like this. And we're going against a composition that RA have drafted for themselves, especially when you're looking at FPX and like, oh, can we get this Ocean Soul for ourselves? Like, it helps you so much to deal with the all-in potential that is there for Rare Adam.
Yeah, I feel like Ocean Soul right now feels somewhat underwhelming. Overall, honestly, I feel like a lot of Souls I feel like Soul feels underwhelming in terms of...
You just brought the whole point there.
I did just
You're like, all right,
but
this one specific one is bad. No, okay, really it's the whole thing.
It's not even that Souls are bad, right? It's just that I feel like if you're a composition that outscales the enemy team comp, typically you do regardless of if they have Soul or not, you know, and that's a black or white statement. It's not always black or white, right? You could have two compositions that are kind of close and maybe one slightly outscales, but point is, if you have like an Aphelios on your side and then you have a Gwen and then the opposite side has things like Kallistas and Lee Sins or things of that nature, or Renekton, it's like, hey, you know, if I play the fight correctly later on, my team comp can probably still beat yours even if you have a Soul. So the thing about Dragons that I find very interesting right now is not necessarily like how valued they are or what they do. It's how they're used to pull the enemy teams out of their base and set up fights. Because to me, that feels like the big value of neutral objectives, at least in the LPL, because, you know, teams typically aren't going to give it up. They typically will come and look to fight it no matter what power spike they're on.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes a bait, but sometimes it's also just so incredibly important. As we are back into the game, I do want to update. We were just having reports of some visual issues with Tian, but apparently everything is fixed up and ready to go. And he is starting the dragon, the other objective, the left, not the other right. But it will be the dragon going over to FPX as they take advantage of the moment to get their second dragon of the game.
You know, I'm just saying, if he did start up the Baron at 20 minutes, would have been a total baller. Would have been the gangster of the Rift. You know, yeah, exactly. Not caring about anything, but instead is going to go for that, looking for the scaling that those are going to provide later on, to where RA, I like what they're doing. They are one of the teams that aren't just going to mindlessly fight the dragon like we were just talking about, right? They're not going to get baited into coming out of their base for that until they really have to. They're just going to keep playing to get more items onto iBoy. Right now, sitting at 2, does have the Immortal Shield Bow and the Runon, so getting close to a decent point of damage. Aphelios still overall being one of those AD carries that really feels like he does rely on 3 items. Ever since the buffs on the recent patches, you have switched to leveling up your lethality second instead of your attack speed, so your mid game does feel, I'd say, a little bit better than it did before. Not a huge deal, but does still make a difference in some of these early skirmishes.
And as we're, taking a couple moments to dissect what we're looking at and getting back into the game and everything, I do want to take a look around the map at some of these lane assignments, right? We've seen FoFo against Doinb in the top lane for a majority of these last couple minutes, and we're seeing the floating of the ADCs towards mid lane. I do also want to point out, you were talking about the Runans completed there for the Aphelios for iBoy. On the other side of it, you have the Serpent's Fang completed for Lwx. A little bit of shield reduction power there, with a lot of shielding coming out from some members of the side of RA, and now FPX are taking the momentum they've gained, trying to get this mid lane tower cracked a little bit more, but that Runan's coming up clutch for iBoy in the wave clear.
Yeah, and I mean, nice reaction by RA. I feel like FPX's last few moves have been very telegraphed just from how the champions play out and like the state of the map, right? So
yeah,
for RA, you know what FPX is going to be trying to do. They're going to be trying to get in a position where they can push out sides, especially playing around Nuguri's lane, where he is the one that does have big pressure compared to Doinb, who is still going to get pressured by FoFo right now, and they're just going to look to be able to make that numbers advantage play on mid to break that down. For RA, you don't really have anything you need to do other than upkeep your defensive vision, which is what they're doing. You can see control ward behind their red buff. You can see vision on Baron right now. And then when FPX stops showing on the side waves, just reactively move towards mid, because it doesn't matter where FPX are other than that. If they're in your jungle, it doesn't really matter too much as long as they're not showing on the wave. You know where you need to be, but didn't matter. FPX still were able to make the play to get this turret because a reset had to come out from iBoy. Did end up just buying a BF sword.
Yeah, so that just perfectly leads back to the point you were saying earlier about like the beauty of the push and pull, and we were talking more about the dragons and what that does, but it's also about the push and pull around the general map state. And in moments like this where FPX are trying to leverage their lead, they just return to the same play, right? It's just that extra couple seconds of waiting, that extra couple moments of waiting for that decision to come down, and being able to return and get that mid tower, keep that pressure up, and open up the map a little bit more for yourself. So I like the consistency coming out from FPX, the fact that they are continuously trying to push up and push their advantages.
One thing I really like about FPX, we didn't see it in that moment, but it's something that I wouldn't be surprised to do some point this game, is that when they get in situations like that where, right, typically your team compositions, win conditions don't really necessarily change like as the game goes on. You're going to keep looking for like certain instances of like, okay, well, we need to set up these flanks, or we do have pushing lanes that we need to like use to get on objectives first. FPX is a team that will, like, let's say they need to make that turret play on mid. Well, they'll try and force a pick on sides first to pull the people you have in mid towards the side lane and catch them out in transition to then make the play on mid. So they're a team that I think is very good about forcing you into positions with different kinds of set plays. And I think they're one of the few teams that are very good at things like that. So for FPX, plays like that are why they're able to get this small gold lead that they have now, and why they might be able to close out a game like this despite being up against things like the Aphelios and iBoy, which does do pretty well against a lot of the champions coming out for FPX.
It definitely does. Not if you get caught out, though. Chains of Corruption came out. Cleanse has already gone, and iBoy is dead. Lwx is able to get the kill. The follow-up, FoFo just goes in, almost dies. Has to get immediately out as Doinb just goes golden. And FPX are able to strike a kill, now are in position to take sole point for themselves.
Right as we're caught, you know, setting him up to be the man that RA need to lead on, I glance back over to the screen and he's getting absolutely decimated by the members of FPX. And now FPX are going to be on sole point with this one. They're not only going to be able to do this objective, but they're going to be able to keep control of topside vision at the same time. They have Lwx and Doinb hovering up towards there right now, so going to be able to do decently well on both sides of the map. As we're going to see the replay, iBoy walking up to contest mid-wave, Chains of Corruption come out, and just really nice combo from Shenyl going in at the same time to where he instantly has to flash away or he would go down.
Oh,
Lwx now getting punished.
moves all over the place, Lyric. My goodness. Flashes break ankles, people. Flashes break ankles.
Yeah, really nice coming out from RA. They, you know, they're mad that iBoy went down. They want to put punishment back down to Lwx. And look at iBoy's guns. Crescendo Severum up, you know, the best DPS guns for trying to burn down this Baron.
And you've still got Nuguri across the other side of the map. Does have TP available. Doinb now coming in as well. FPX are here. They feel confident to go in the pit, but who's going to get the Baron? The quickness engage. The engage is there. They have already found it, though, as Leyan gets the Baron, but they got to get out with their lives. Hung and FoFo are in there. They are committing to the fight, and FPX are scattered. Nuguri, you might be a big old crocodilian, but your health bar just ain't enough. He'll put up a fight. He'll take one with them, but he goes down too, and RA have found it.
I gotta be honest, Mazel, my eyes were on iBoy at the start of that fight. I can't believe that RA were able to take out so many members of FPX on the back end of it. Thank God we're getting a replay right away so we can see how this all went down. We do see that Leyan's going to be the first one to be able to guarantee that smite onto the Baron. We see a lot of the AoE come out from the members of FPX as well. Dragon's Rage kick, kicking away the Rakan, making sure he isn't able to get onto iBoy. But then Hung, Cube, and Leyan just being able to do so much in the back line, they instantly get onto Tian, take him out of the fight while Hung is zoning off Lwx. And when we look at those two members, they really are the big damage dealers for the side of FPX. So the fact that they're both taken down so early on puts them in this situation where, sure, Nuguri's gotten an advantage, but having to deal with 4 members all by himself is too tall of a task for this former world champion.
And now you've got RA with the Baron. They've got the gold lead in hand as well, and they might be down sole point to FPX. If they can continue to push up with this Baron buff and get advantages that way, you continue to grow that gold lead. Those fights get easier and easier with the composition you've set out for yourself. And I gotta point out, FoFo here, 2-0-3 on the LeBlanc, feeling himself in these fights, trying to dip in, trying to dip out, but really being the piece that's helping pull apart the strength of FPX.
Yeah, to be fair, I do want to give a lot of credit to Leyan in that fight. I feel like Leyan set everything up. FoFo, I thought, wouldn't even be able to have the impact that he ended up having because he was just being zoned away by members like Nuguri, but in the end, is able to find his way back in and be the one to pick up these kills. And now sitting on a Rabadon's death cap, he's absolutely massive.
He is, and that just plays into what RA have drafted themselves, right? They have so many pieces that can just pick out and pick apart FPX's composition, and they're being able to execute on it. And that's the beautiful part about all of it coming together for RA. But on the other side for FPX, you've given up this fight, you've had good objective control, but you have to be careful and you have to make sure everybody's on the same page, especially Lwx. There's been some chains of corruptions that have not hit the mark, but that is a crucial setup for FPX, especially in their long-range engage. They're about to walk into an engage themselves, though. Tian maybe thinks better of it.
Yeah, Cube though.
They've got quickness there on Shenyl. Goes in, heroic entrance to back it up. 5 members here, Chains of Corruption there. You gotta watch Lwx though, as he's putting in some serious damage, and now you get the resets coming out for Tian, as he will have Heartbreaker available. Still looking for more resets. Heartbreaker not available anymore, actually went ahead and used it. But RA have to get out of here as FPX are surging forward after picking up a couple kills.
That one was just a head scratcher. Leyan and Cube, I understand what they were looking for. I just don't know how they envisioned it in their heads of that actually being able to work out with them without them going down, when FPX had almost every single member of their team in that quadrant of the jungle, and you guys didn't really have anyone else around. FoFo was nearby, could have jumped in as well, but if FoFo had gone in, he probably would have been someone to go down too, and it just feels like this should be a guaranteed Ocean Soul for FPX.
Gonna be a really nice pickup for FPX as they do burn down this dragon. No contest coming out from Rare Adam, and that'll be objective dominance from FPX, only having given 1 dragon up in that regard. FoFo just trying to get something on the opposite side here, just clear this wave down, but FPX come out the better for it. They'll retake, or at least even closely get back that gold lead, right? We're just within about 500 to 700 now in favor of RA. But these fights are neck and neck, and it's all about who is getting picked out first, who is misstepping and overstepping in these fights.
Funnily enough, I feel like the team that is engaging in front to back against the enemy team, like if you're the team jumping into the enemy team's front line, I feel like you're going to be the team that loses that fight.
Yeah.
For RA, it's like, I think especially iBoy is going to be someone who's going to be happy if your Viego and Renekton are jumping in. We've already highlighted that numerous times. FoFo's going to have room where he can get to his side and like even just posture against someone like Lwx. And then Leyan has the Dragon's Rage kick to keep the Rakan away. We even saw that in the Baron exchange. But at the same time, RA can't just freely jump into FPX's comp like we just saw in that last exchange. You have a ton of CC, you have a ton of like very close range lockdown and AoE damage to take out the frontliners of
Shenyl. He's caught, he's dead. FoFo gets the kill, and that means the avalanche is coming for the likes of FPX as everybody else is moving forward as well. You got to be careful. The AoE is there. Lwx has a lot of damage. Lwx already has found Leyan, and FPX are moving, and FPX are getting resets. FoFo can do nothing as Hung goes down, iBoy goes down, and FoFo, looking for the trade, gets the kill back. But he's all alone against an absolutely domineering FPX.
And there are 30-second death timers on most members of RA. I don't know if FPX can necessarily look for the end, especially with the strongest member of RA being alive, but FPX at least gonna look for the inhibitor.
Try and get as much as they can here. They do have Chains of Corruption available on Lwx again if FoFo overextends, but it will just be that inhib picked up. Some super minions coming down mid lane, and the focus to FPX turns on the map.
Yep, no objectives up anymore though. Baron's still up, but no dragons, no other turrets that you can pivot towards, so reset should be what will come out. We're gonna see how Shenyl initially is picked off. Walks into the topside jungle. You wouldn't assume that Ari would be here, I think, especially for a rookie when the rest of your team is pushed up so far in mid lane, so goes down to the dredge line coming out. For RA, Leyan finds the kick onto Doinb, it looked like, not onto
It was a really
Lwx.
good flash from Lwx.
Yeah, Lwx getting out of there, and even the Chains of Corruption doing a nice job to lock numerous members down. But still, I feel like RA deciding to then just say, he flashed out, screw it, let's just commit to the front line. Bit of a weird choice when you do have so many mobile members who do have the ability to lock people down. I think especially Cube saving that Hextech ultimatum. Lwx doesn't have any way to flash out or answer a play like that. Then safeguard in with Leyan. FoFo able to follow up. And then for iBoy, just keep Cube next to him to at least be the meat shield between him and the heavy divers on the side of FPX.
Can I just shout out Doinb real quick, because he's got a Rabadon's and a 9-stack Dark Seal on the Galio mid lane. Gotta appreciate it, gotta shout it out, because he's doing some serious work there alongside FoFo's LeBlanc. The mid lane showdown is living up to its name here, and it's back and forth both ways. FPX have had the last win in the fights, but now RA, they need to maybe turn it around or at least get out of dodge, because FPX want to take the fight. Back and forth, Chains of Corruption goes wide yet again, and now RA feel confident as they have 5 members together, but FPX still moving into mid lane, keeping priority there with their super minions and forcing the hand of RA. They're getting backs off, but they've already got so much pressure in the mid lane that this means FPX have their pick of the litter of the map.
Yeah, and now for FPX, it's going to be very simple for them to turn towards that Baron. I feel like FPX should just commit at this point. I know they're afraid of the AoE coming out from the side of RA, especially if Cube does find a good ultimate. I feel like RA can take a fight. I feel like we've just seen very rushed engages coming out from RA in all these situations, but FPX commit, they are going to get the Baron, and it feels like FPX are on the way to being able to turn this lead into a guaranteed win.
Yeah, they've been so good at knowing when to go for objectives, knowing when to get the turnarounds. FoFo, ooh, a lot of damage on Shenyl. He needs to get out of there a little bit quick, and we'll do just that. FoFo's starting to become a menace, but when will it be enough for RA as FPX are looking so good? And with 50 seconds on the Elder Dragon to spawn, gotta expect RA are starting to shiver in their boots a little bit.
Yeah, and we're at 4 items pretty much across the board. I feel like the big members to highlight, right? FoFo almost being at full build, and then iBoy being at the 4 item mark as well. I guess 5, right? We're including boots. So you have the big carries on the side of RA ready to go, but you already highlighted the death cap coming out from Doinb as well. You do have a decent amount of damage on the side of FPX. For FPX, so I feel like we're looking at Tian to find those resets to be able to take the fights like they have been doing so far. So can a Hextech Ultimatum come out from Cube onto Lwx or Tian? Can FoFo and Leyan follow that up? And then for FPX, just stay grouped as 5, use that AoE, use that lockdown, set up Tian to succeed.
FPX in the pit already. Nobody's starting up the Elder just yet. FoFo's on the back. Actually gets a lot of damage on the Nuguri there. And you still have iBoy in the mid lane trying to keep that priority up, realizing that they could just move down as soon as FPX decide to start up the Elder. The push and pull. Who cracks first? Who gives up the advantage? FPX start up the Elder. Elder already getting down to about half health. RA need to make a move. They do not want to give up this dragon, as we're getting to a point where it's going to be chaos. It's going to be the engage. You have everybody coming through the heroic entrance from Doinb, and now you've already lost Cube. What do you do as RA? As Tian flashing over the wall looking for FoFo. FoFo, can he get out? The madman does not do it. And Doinb gets the kill. The rest of FPX, not having lost a single member, will use this Baron buff, will use this lead to push down mid and take this game. They've got the bodies. Can they finish it off? Lyric, what a performance from FPX in this first one, as Nuguri's going to get the kill there to finish it off. The resets coming on through in FPX. The carousel may turn, but the dubs stay consistent. Game number 1 goes to FPX.
And nice performance from them overall. They punished the way that they punished the members of RA who weren't able to find those sequences, I'd say, fluidly. We saw in the mid game, right? They find that pick onto Shenyl, and then they just all in on trying to get that pick onto Lwx, but they don't go through the proper steps of doing it. They don't necessarily wait or maybe communicate or set up like, hey, Hextech Ultimatum first, then we turn that into a Dragon's Rage, or then we turn that into like LeBlanc coming in with the Ethereal Chains. It's like, no, we just go. We see the kick come
Throw
out,
it all at 'em.
For Lwx, exactly. Lwx able to flash it, and then you're just left in this awkward position where you're clumped up against a comp that loves you to be clumped up against them, and from there on forward, we're just able to cleverly find ways to punish. I do think we saw good, like consistent use of sideways and consistent use of playing around their win conditions was something you highlighted of like, FPX always went back to that push and pull of when they needed to do it, and they also did a really great job later on in the game of making RA make hard choices of like, okay, you're gonna play off into river and like threaten us on this objective, we're gonna push down mid, or we're gonna make our way into topside river and threaten a Baron, and then RA weren't able to find the openings to get back into the game once FPX started doing that.
Can I just give a special shout out to Doinb there at the end there, taking Shuni under his wing, letting him know maybe some things that went wrong in that game, but also keeping up that consistency as a good teammate. And that's a gold graph for sure right there that we're seeing on our screen. And what a first game of this best of 3 series.
I'm just saying, I'm numb to the gold graphs at this point. I mean, we were born in the gold graphs, right? Other regions merely adopted the gold graphs. So the whole meme. So you know, for RA, I think there were some good things. I think we saw how this could have worked out. I think FoFo especially having a good performance. Leyan early on, I think was showing up pretty decently. Even Cube had his moments, but I feel like the later the game went, the more we continuously see this RA team that isn't able to like look at their comp and the enemy comp and like put together the best way to play it out and like find those win conditions or find those holes in the enemy comp. They typically just try to like outskill or out-mechanic the enemy, which is very reminiscent to Spring, and then you'll see it isn't always able to work. Leyan and Cube in this game, I think especially, there was that time in topside jungle, right, where they pretty much just ran it down, died before when no other member was close, or iBoy having some moments where he gets caught out. Just such a familiar sentence we've all said 100 times before. And these sort of mid and late game issues are going to be the thing that hold RA back from being an A tier team to ever truly competing with the S tiers.
Yeah, it's a very interesting showing for their first one here. Very different from the approach that we thought they were going to take. See what they want to approach with in game number 2. As we're going to be stepping away, taking a little break. We'll be right back into the action as Rare Adam take on FPX in game number 2 of this series on the